Well, our first guest tonight says President Obama and Senate Democrats need to follow and not misinterpret the law of what sequestration is, to cut spending, not to raise taxes. Joining us now is Senator John Barrasso. He's Republican Policy Committee Chairman, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Lou.
Sequestration, we have a new deadline. It's whenever the president signs the order, putting it into effect. Your thoughts?
Well, I see it the same way you do. The president seems to be running a campaign of fear. The purpose behind it, of course, is to try to scare Congress and the American people into raising taxes. I'm just not buying it. We need to cut wasteful Washington spending. The American people, and I've just been all around Wyoming last week, people believe that at least 50 cents of every dollar they send to Washington is wasted, is poorly used. People don't feel they're getting value for their money. And now you see what this administration is doing in terms of releasing illegal immigrant detainees. Arnie Duncan's statement on CBS last week about teachers getting pink slips, where we now know that is not true. There is so much fear-mongering on the part of this administration. They just have to realize it's time to cut the spending, and Republicans stand firm that we're not going to trade a spending cut for a tax increase.
You know, as I said at the beginning of tonight's broadcast, this has become almost farcical, this campaign of fear by this president, his cabinet, his administration, and those who support him, whether they are unions, whomever they may be, the Organization for Action. But the reality here is that today we're greeted by the spectacle of a divided Republican Party, because it appears that the Senate leadership has embraced this, what is described as a 5-page draft that would confer upon the president constitutional authority to make spending cut decisions, rather replacing sequestration. What are you all doing over there?
Well, we are unified that there is going to be spending cuts occurring, not an increase in taxes. The proposal by those two senators, and they're still working on the fine details of that, is for a temporary period till we can get back to the regular order here, like passing a budget. The Senate hasn't, the Democrat-controlled Senate has not passed a budget now, Lou, in 1,400 days. This is before but they haven't passed a budget since the iPad has been around. And the amount of sequester, realistically, $85 billion, that's the amount of money, Lou, that we borrow as a country every month. And that's only that's the sequester for the whole year. And realistically, you know, when they call it a cut, spending continues to go up. It's just not going up as fast a rate as the president wants it to go up.
You know, it turns out we're not talking about $85 billion, as we've all been discussing for the past 6 weeks. We're talking about, really, according to the Congressional Budget Office, in reality, a reduction of $44 billion in outlays in this fiscal year. So the margin is even smaller. This little sliver of a reduction in spending in this current fiscal year becomes even smaller. About 1%, not 2.3%. It's not going to have nearly that impact, and yet the horror stories go on. At what point do you, as a Republican and a leader of the United States Senate, say, you know, why don't I tell my colleagues, including Senator Corker, and I'm sorry, who's the other senator behind this 5-page draft?
I think it's Toomey and Inhofe for the two
Yeah. Why don't you tell those guys, you know, calm down and let us have some leadership here, clear, articulate voices about the Republican view, because it really is mixing messages, it really is confounding, and it makes the Republicans look either frivolous because it's a political gambit, or perhaps even worse, seeking to avoid the responsibility that they said they wanted to claim, and that is to reduce spending and return to responsible, prudent fiscal policy in this country.
There should be no question about it. The spending cuts will occur on Friday. The sequester will go into place, and it realistically should not do all of this damage that the president continues to say is going to happen when you look at just how small it is and how long it takes to actually roll through the whole process. My concern, as is yours, is that the president has hyped it to such a degree that they may have to force some things in the most painful way on the American people, which a good manager, a good leader, would try to rearrange in a way that would minimize
Right.
the impact of the citizens of a country, not increase the pain on the citizens of a country. But
Senator,
I'm afraid that's what we're dealing with right now, Lou.
Well, right now, I got to say the American people have got to be just confounded by the farce that is the Obama administration's FAIR campaign and by the conflicting, contradictory, and certainly mixed messages of the Republican leadership. But at a time when we need responsible, loyal opposition, I would put it that way. And Senator Barrasso, we're not going to have time, but I wanted to point out, Senator Barrasso and the Policy Committee have just come up with a report identifying just in 1 year, 2011, $115 billion in wasted money by the federal government. It goes across a variety of departments and programs. $115 billion, but no one seems too excited about that. We'll find out whether Senator Barrasso can get some people excited about it, because it's a lot of money, just about 3 times the impact of this so-called sequester. Senator Barrasso, as always, it's great to have you with us. We thank you so much.